Danielle Carmody Morse is a Salesforce developer. She attended Carnegie Mellon University, where she earned a bachelor's in biological sciences and psychology. She began her career at a healthcare software company, merging her biology background and sidestepping into more tech roles. From there, she worked at a variety of nonprofits supporting their IT systems until more recently reaching out as an independent consultant. How do you use technology in your career?
So I work as a Salesforce developer and independent contractor. So I set up, use software every day. Basically, I primarily work with the Salesforce software system, which is a customer relationship management system, but basically a software system that a lot of companies use. And primarily my role is on customizing it, and I primarily work with nonprofits. So mostly it's listening and understanding to what the nonprofit client needs their system to be able to do. And then I go and work on getting it set up.
That's awesome. On a different note, how do you use technology in your everyday life?
Yeah, sure. In my everyday life, I feel like technology is around everywhere these days. Use everything on my phone. I recently had a baby and have been full of there are all sorts of like baby tracking apps and things for keeping you along. Um, yeah, uh, that's I feel like the main thing that's popping up right now. But I feel like technology is just everywhere in our lives these days.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any other plans, like as your kid grows up, how you plan to introduce them to technology, things like that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think uh, I think definitely trying to think about what are the ways to prepare, like think about what technologies we use right now, but also prepare our kids for the future technologies, the ones that like I can't even think of today. You know, when I was a kid, I did not think about cell phones or well, I mean, there were phones when I was a kid, but I think about smartphones now and like sort of all the capabilities. Self-driving cars, that's a thing that I think is going to be coming around. But yeah, so I think I primarily am thinking about how I think about technology for my new kiddo is thinking about what are the ways to less about the actual like what the will be or what the things will, but like how to be thinking about technology. Um, and yeah, I think it's like thinking about um, as as people, we just have to like understand things really well and thinking about where technology is a useful thing to help solve problems in our everyday life and yeah be able to like creatively think about what problems we can solve with it.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned like how smartphones didn't really exist when you were young, and that kind of brings us to our next question. What technology do you have today that would be hard to live without, and yet you still like it didn't exist when you were young?
Yeah, I think the smartphone is the one that definitely comes most to mind. I remember I got a phone in high school, but it was not yet a smartphone, and I didn't get my first smartphone until I was out of college. And just thinking about even actually I'm going to think about like Google Maps. That was a thing that I don't remember exactly at what point in my growing up, but it was not around when I was younger. Um, I remember there was like an intermediary time before like smartphones and having maps on phones, but where you could like log onto a computer and search for like directions, which was a lot easier than looking it up on the map. But um, I often think about like that technology and like the new sectors that it's enabled, like the whole ride sharing industry, like would not be possible without Google Maps. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And I think a lot of kids, especially like my age or younger than I am, don't really have experience using like maps and whatnot. So
Yeah.
like it's crazy to think about that it didn't exist at one point and now it's like you use it all of the
So
time.
embedded. Yeah. And it
Um
wasn't that long ago. Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. What kinds of technology can you like imagine for the future? I know you mentioned like self-driving cars is becoming prevalent, but what else?
Yeah, well, I think I'll also say with the recent like AI chat GPT things have been on the internet, a conversation that um my husband and I were having just the other day. It's like, maybe we'll go with our little kid, like maybe there'll be a day where we all go get in a car and we'll go sit in a self-driving car and we'll ask the AI to we'll come up with a prompt and we'll just say, hey, AI, generate a movie right now for us about like a family going on a trip to Chicago or something. So yeah, I think I've been thinking a lot about ChatGPT, the capabilities there, and also like the image generating AI. So I think AI and self-driving cars are sort of like two of the big ones where I think the technology is here, and it's just going to be how do we integrate it in our lives. Yeah, I think especially with self-driving cars, it feels like the technology is here. It's more of like society, and legislation isn't quite there, and so how and when that transition will happen.
Yeah, that sounds really awesome to be able to like get into a car and it generates like a movie for you. That would be really cool. And then what advice would you like to give to young technology goddesses that want to have like a career in STEM and want to like grow up with these new technologies?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think at the core for all of these, there's like knowing how to use and like be fluent in the technologies of your day, whatever it is. But there's also like being able to imagine the ones in the future. And I think for both of those, having like being really curious, and also being able to think creatively are two really important integral skills, to have. So being able to, I think about with for example, with like software languages, there's even though, there are the ones that I'm familiar with and there are the ones that maybe I haven't used, but like maybe I have some assignment to do that involves something new where uh, it's, I can, I can sort of like use my core understanding of how a language would work and then be able to apply that to a new one. So I think that that's the same way again, and thinking about there's like knowing how technologies work today and like becoming comfortable and confident with those, but it's also just generally being curious and being interested in learning new things and in order to um, learn about how whatever is coming in the future will work. And then I think again, yeah, the other important piece that I'm always excited about is like trying to think creatively about what are problems or like situations that people encounter in the day to day and um, how we can use what sort of technological solutions might be useful in helping make some of those improvements.
Yeah, that's really great. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Um, I think it's an exciting time to be, I'm sure every generation says like, wow, everything is changing so fast and so cool now. But it really, again, it feels like, in the next generation, are we going to go to Mars? Like, are we going to have
Yeah.
self-driving cars? Exactly. I think it's just, keep being curious, keep pushing yourself, keep learning, and um, take us to new places. Excited.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on here and doing this interview.
Yeah, thank you as well.